This is from December 2005.
Folks, if you went on mute when you got online, you can unmute by pressing *6 again. State your name and where you're calling from. Trying to get a feel for who else online. Health professionals that we got online. Who else just joined us? This is Chris in Chicago.
This is Don Davis in Virginia Beach.
Hey Don, welcome to our call.
Thank you.
This is Julie from Indiana.
Hey Julie, welcome to the call.
This is Romy from Las Vegas.
Hey Romy, welcome.
Thanks.
Anybody else just join us? This is Chris in Chicago. Please state your name and where you're calling in from. Let me start it here.
If you look under the event schedule, it'll tell you where we're going in different cities.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I want to start tapping into something. You said you're hitting London?
Yeah, I don't know where that is going to be yet. It should be announced.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I got some people over there I want to get with you as well. All right, we have a little bit after 7 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. Here, folks, the way that this call is going to run is I'm going to introduce, well, you guys have been hearing Dr. Holteware, Dr. H. He's our medical services director. He's a certified nutritionist and a whole slew of other renowned degrees that he holds. He is going to go and do an explanation on our product, how it works, and then I'm going to, if Dr. Ron Moorfield has joined us, our ITO, if not, I'll probably three-way him in here. Oh, okay. Thanks, Ron. And then after that, we're going to take some questions. Any questions that you guys have that come to mind, just you can feel free to open up your lines and unmute them, *6, and then ask questions. And then we're going to ask anybody that wants to give any testimonials on personal stories of how the product's working for them and their clients. Feel free to do so. And then we're going to go into an outline of how to use this product in practical application in the medical industry, as well as then we're going to talk a little bit about the money and how the money is derived from either retail or by introducing other distributors and/or retailers to the product. So, without further ado, I'm going to open up the line here for Dr. H to give us an overview, and then we'll proceed with the call. So, Dr. H, take it away.
Well, we can go complicated or simple. Let's start simple first.
Okay.
What we have are patches that contain a solution of organic materials that have been specially processed to create what's a process called solution-based self-assembly, a set of molecules that are laid down on a material substrate. It's either cotton or polyester. And what you get is a precipitation out of certain crystals that are very small in size of a certain geometry. And so what we're literally creating are like molecular crystals, and they serve the role of an antenna system. Now, let's talk back for a minute. So what we're trying to do is create a molecular antenna. Historically, NASA did some original research back in the 80s using materials that would absorb microwaves. They were inorganic materials. They put them on space station satellites and would use a beam of microwaves from Earth to activate these crystals, which would convert the microwave to electrical energy to recharge the batteries. And then back in the 90s, a guy named Alvin Marks took another form of molecular antennas and put them in a stretched polymer film using as a solar cell, basically absorb visible light, and he would convert visible light into electricity, and it was a very good conversion rate, higher than standard solar cells. Now, what David Schmidt has done is taken this type of research. You've got microwaves on one side and visible light on the other side. If you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, you see the infrared infrared, high-frequency electromagnetic energy, the infrared range. Now, body heat is in a broad spectrum of wavelengths, so you have a lot of wavelengths of infrared, and it's a static. And so what he did is he took these materials, created a way of making molecular antennas, then you use the body heat to activate a passive antenna, and you create a signal that goes back into the body of a certain wavelength or frequency. So what we have is the way of taking static and energy and to make it an information signal. And these information signals are specific enough to activate cellular mechanisms, and the energy patches are designed to activate a mechanism where fat is turned into energy. So we increase and accelerate fat burning. That was a simple explanation.
Well, that's a little scientific data on how this product works. What I think that we can do is now, if you wouldn't mind, Dr. Acius, have Ron Moorfield, who is our information technology officer. He's also a certified acupuncturist, and he's a lot of other renowned titles that he holds. Is going to come out and kind of expand on, or kind of put his spin on how this product works and stuff. Ron, would you mind stepping out and giving us a little overview?
I just want to say one thing first, is I taught Ron everything he knows about acupuncture, or maybe it was the other way around.
Yeah, I think we kind of taught each other.
Go ahead.
I have a real simple explanation. The patches are magic. They are very interesting. What we have discovered also, and really this was in a lot of clinical practice over about 2.5 years, is that while the patches do all of those good things, they also are putting energy signals into the body, with some of which have a clockwise spin or polarization, and some of which have a counterclockwise spin or polarization. And as a consequence, they have a very definite effect on the acupuncture points and the acupuncture meridians. And what we have discovered in particular is that just like in normal acupuncture, where certain locations on the body are particularly receptive to certain energy signals that produce an effect in the body, the patches seem to be another way to stimulate those points. In traditional Chinese medicine, you can use acupuncture needles, massage, heat. In more modern acupuncture, you can use electrical signals to stimulate these points, and they produce well-documented, documented as well as anything we have in Western science for the last 2,500 years, but probably going back about 8,000 years all the way into Ayurvedic medicine in India. They found stone acupuncture needles or stimulators that are estimated to be between 5,000 and 8,000 years old. So these points are very well known, and we have discovered that with the patches, you can stimulate the points and produce a lot of interesting energetic effects in the body, and consequently physical effects as well. We don't claim that the patches in any way cure or fix any kind of illness, but these very well-documented points seem to behave about as you would expect them to behave, from classical acupuncture when stimulated by the patches. The one thing that we have discovered that's absolutely unique about the patches, and it makes them, in a sense, for stimulating the points by people who are not trained in classical acupuncture, is that when you use the patches on both sides of the body on the same point, they seem to just automatically do whatever is needed in the meridian, and that's fairly unique. In classical acupuncture, you have to worry about how you use the needle, because that has an effect on the energy. get a better understanding of how this product works and stuff. But if there's anyone else on the line, I know we did this at short notice again this week, but we're going to get this call more scheduled on a regular basis. So please feel free to open up your line at *6 and ask any questions of Ron Moorfield or Dr. H. Who has the first question? Don't be shy, folks.
Yeah, I got a question if nobody else is going to ask any.
Go ahead. Who's this?
Yeah, it's Mike.
Hey, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know when I was using the patches initially, I noticed that I did get certain different results when I put them in different places. I was wondering how, in the different spots, I know they have 4 designated areas in the body to put the patches. I was wondering what kind of info you had on that, different patch placement, and how it affects the body.
Sure. Yeah, the 4 patches placements that we recommend, let me just go over them real quickly. Now, the 4 points that we have chosen are all critical in the energy production system in the body. And I'll explain why. The ones that are up near the, right under the collarbone and out near the shoulders, those are called the 1-1 points, and as you would expect, they have to do with the lungs. The lungs are very critical because obviously without getting enough oxygen into your body, you cannot metabolize the food that you eat. The Chinese say that the food is actually in a raw form of energy when you digest it, and that it requires being combined with air from the lungs to turn into usable energy. The ones below the knees are the stomach 36 points, and from what I just said, it's pretty obvious that the stomach points are critical because you got to be able to digest your food well. I might also add that that's probably the most widely used point in acupuncture, stomach 36. The ones down by the ankles are very important because they're with the kidneys, kidney 3, and the kidneys in Chinese medicine are regarded as being the batteries of the body. So when you create all this energy from the stomach and the lungs, the energy gets stored in the kidneys, and the kidneys release it all day and make it available. And the last one is on the inside of the wrist, and that is the pericardium point. And the pericardium actually surrounds the heart, and so by stimulating the pericardium, you're also improving and stimulating the heart function, and circulating the nutrients and energy throughout the body better. So what we've discovered in using those points is that what the patches you can think of them as doing is that you're supplying the different organs with the energy that they need to do their job correctly. And just like, an engine that doesn't have enough energy won't work right, or a flashlight or a cell phone, the organs in the body are the same way. So you have to have that energy there. And that's why, people notice different effects. We've noticed, for example, people who do aerobics tend to like, or aerobic activities, or electrical riding, like the lung points, People who are marathon runners tend to like the kidney points because it gives them energy all day long, and so forth. Weightlifters tend to like the ones on the inside of the wrist because it circulates more nutrition to the cells.
It seems like they're all necessary I understand now that it's basically just aiming it toward energy production, energy metabolism, and all of that stuff. I mean, I would imagine it to be, would you say that it'd be better to alternate, because they all seem very important? Obviously they're all very important organs.
Yeah, I think that, I'd like to hear what Dr. Steve has to say about that, but my personal belief is that it depends on what your objectives are. If your objective is to improve performance in a particular athletic event, then you might want to focus more on one of the spots that seems to do very good. If your objective is overall wellness and sense of well-being in the body, then yes, circulating them among the 4 points on a regular basis would probably produce the best overall feeling of well-being.
Okay.
Dr. Steve, what do you think?
Well, I got a very similar opinion to Ron. I just use different terminology. Let's look at it from the point of view that the body conducts energy through circuits in the body. We all know about the nervous system is an electrochemical transmission, but research since the 40s has also shown that energy is also conducted through proteins through semiconduction. So what we have, without getting into detailed biophysics, we find there are bioelectric circuits that run throughout the body, but primarily in the connective tissue, which are very much analogous to what the Chinese have talked about as the acupuncture meridians, or you can talk about it from biophysics point of view, that you have biocircuits. Now, in any type of electronic or any type of facility, let's say you have an old building with a lot of old wiring in it, you're going to find that there may be some shorts. Rats might have eaten one of the connectors or something. So you might get in there and plug a lamp in, there's no power because that circuit's broken. You have to go in and repair it. So the same thing happens in the body. Trauma, toxic impregnation, surgical disruption, and literally you can get some of these circuits will just be broken. One of the things we're seeing with the patches, we seem to be able to reestablish